The Sports Lounge, brought to you by Waterview Sportsbook and Casino. Welcome to the lounge.
This is the Sports Lounge, New Orleans, Bash Brothers Media. We're at Desi Vega's Steakhouse, world famous here on St. Charles. I'm John Wiener, alongside New Orleans' own Corey Roden, ISO Joe Simeone. Saints camp wrapped up, guys, and couldn't think of a better place to wrap it than right here.
Oh, no doubt, man. We got some great food. I don't know how I'm going to get through this show without eating this. I'm excited.
ISO Joe, I know you've been tackling the New Orleans food down here.
I know. I'm like ready to just dive in right now.
Well, we're going to dive into our starters right now, and a lot to get to from Saints camp. Big show coming up here at Bash Brothers Media. And big shout out again to Desi Vegas. Guys, we got 3 days of mini camp in the books. And when we talk about the big storyline for the Saints coming out, Corey, we'll start with you. What was it over the last 3 days?
It was Cam Jordan's contract extension. He just got a 3-year, $52 million deal, and he did not take as much money as he could have.
Yeah.
And that's really going to help the Saints in the long run. Michael Thomas is the next contract up, and then you got Kamara, and then you got Lattimore, and you got a lot of guys they need to sign, and that's a big storyline for me.
Cam Jordan got paid and was a
He
happy guy.
He's always a happy guy, man.
What about you, ISO Joe?
I mean, Drew Brees, man, he's back, and it's so nice to be covering a GOAT like him and just watching him out there play. You could just tell the difference between him and somebody like Teddy Bridgewater, how much faster he gets the ball out, how well he places the ball to his wide receivers. He's just so important to this team, and I think when you watch him minicamp, it's just so clear.
And
He's
what
so
about
majestic, man.
Well, and you talk about majestic, just what a way that I think a difference in day one and day two, the way
no
Breeze
doubt.
just lifts the team in the atmosphere, guys, when he's out there.
Oh, yeah, the competitive nature of the practice from day one to day two is completely different. You saw players more focused, playing harder. Alvin Kamara is just getting extra balls out there. Michael Thomas is staying later for practice. It's just a different atmosphere.
Yeah, and we heard from Kamara yesterday and talked about how everybody takes their tone, not just on the practice field, but all through the week in their career from Drew Brees. Listen, we know about Drew Brees. We know about Alvin Kamara and some of the Saints stars, but in terms of a who dat guy who flashed maybe, or maybe had a really good camp that may have surprised some people. ISO Joe, we'll start with you. Who stood out for you?
I'm sticking with the star. It's Marshawn Lattimore. I mean, I think he had an incredible rookie season. He was somebody I loved when he came out of the draft. When you watch him in minicamp, he really shows why. Making pass deflections, making interceptions on Drew Brees, that doesn't happen a lot. And so when you see Marshawn Lattimore doing that and making those type of plays, it just shows what type of player he is and the amount of skill that he contains.
Yeah, Lattimore with a couple of picks, I think, the last 2 days in the preseason.
Well, a player for me is not only Jared Cook, but Alize Mack, the 7th-round draft pick from Notre Dame. The rookie has impressed me. He's been making plays over defenders, over the middle. He's somebody that the Saints need. They haven't had a tight end in a long time. Jared Cook's going to be the one. Can he be the second threat from the tight end position?
And we know how much the Saints can use 2 and even 3 tight ends sometimes. A little play action bootleg to the tight end, first and goal from the 4. Sean Payton special, and certainly keeping an eye on the tight ends. And speaking of eyes, we also have our ears when we're out there in Saints camp. And guys, one of the most interesting things I think that can come from mini camp is, in fact, what you hear from the players and coaches. Because let's be honest, in pads or without pads and shorts and a t-shirt, there's only so much you'll get on the matchups. What was the most interesting or memorable thing that you heard from the Saints this week?
It was Alvin Kamara for me, just listening to him. And he was talking about how he wants to be the smartest player on the football field and gets that from Drew Brees.
Just trying to be thinking it all, like, on all angles. And I think that's what Drew does a great job of, and that's why he's been so successful, because it's like he has an answer for everything. It's like the kid you hate in class because he always know the answer. It's like, that's Drew, but you know, love him. That's my quarterback.
I thought it was colorful from Kamara, but spot on.
Dude, he's a colorful character, too, man.
I mean, everybody likes to have fun as much as they compete out on these. So Alize Mack we actually had talked to, and we wanted to get some sort of soundbite from him just talking about how much fun he's having out here and something that people should really know about him as a 7th rounder.
It's been really fun. I've just, like I've always said, just smile. It's a blessing to be here. It's a blessing to have this opportunity to be a part of a great team like this with a lot of tradition, a great city behind it. I feel I can be a great locker room guy just because I'm all about family, I'm all about friends, I'm all about positivity, having fun, just enjoying life.
So I think he gave us some good info today.
And I thought it was interesting that, Sean Payton talked openly about the rookie Eric McCoy, about how much he has stepped in. And I think there's a real battle developing at center, with obviously after Max Unger leaves, but Eric McCoy, I know, is another guy who stood out. Real quick, I will say, guys, the big point here in minicamp from the Saints' perspective is no one got hurt.
No.
That's the biggest story, is that there's not a story with the injuries, right?
Yeah, no
I mean,
doubt.
we've seen that, Joe, time and time again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you hate to see a player end up going down this early in the year in the offseason. So the fact that they were able to kind of make it out almost without anyone going down, that's just a blessing.
Especially with a team with so much depth like the Saints at every position, that staying healthy for the season, because there will be injuries like last year with Sheldon Rankins. It's very important.
Yeah, and we'll be honest, I mean, the Saints, one of the deepest teams in the league, one of the most talented, right there on the doorstep of the Super Bowl the last 2 years. We all know what happened there. We'll try not to rehash that much. I'd much rather enjoy eating fried calamari than rehashing the Minneapolis Miracle. But we know there are still questions with this football team. I mean, they are one of the sort of deepest and most talented at the league in every position. But there's also still some questions for this team. What are they for you, Corey, as we look ahead to the season?
Well, I just mentioned Sheldon Rankins' injury. He was huge last year. I thought he should have been all-pro. He had 8 sacks as a defensive tackle. He tore his Achilles, so he's going to be out. So we signed Malcolm Brown from the New England Patriots in the offseason. We know he's going to be a starter, but who's going to be the second guy?
Yeah.
Because Oman Mata is going to be suspended for 4 games. Who's going to step up and be that guy?
Great point.
For me, the biggest question, and it's funny, I talked about how impactful Drew Brees can be, but at the same time, there's no doubt about it. This is a 16-game season, and when you think about it, really 17, 18 for the Saints. Will he be able to hold up throughout that? Because he is so important to this team, and he is getting up there in age, so how well will his arm end up holding up for the Saints team?
And I think with Drew Brees, and where I thought you were going to go, Joe, is as good as Drew Brees is, and as the track record with the Saints offense may be, who will that sort of receiver target shake out, right, at number 2? I mean, is it Ted Ginn? Is it Traquan Smith?
Right.
I mean, we'll look at it in table for 2 in a different way, but that's a question for me, guys, is who's going to be that number 2 receiver?
I think it will be Ted Ginn. He's experienced. He can spread the field. Last year, after his injury, he came up in the playoffs, and he had a really good game versus the Rams. You saw he made that huge catch with 2 minutes to go to set the Saints in position to get that field goal. We know it happened there, but I think he is the number 2 guy. I'm not sold on Ted. I'm not sold on Traquan Smith. I believe he's too inconsistent. He struggles against the press and in man coverage.
ISO Joe was hollering for Des Bryant the other day.
Yeah, I was hollering for Des Bryant, but backtracking from that, there are 2 guys that I'm really interested in, and Rashard Matthews, who just signed with the Saints.
Yeah.
He's a longtime veteran who's been a great slot receiver for a long time, and I think he can make an impact on this team. Also, I have a boy, Simi Cobbs Jr., who's coming over from Indiana. I believe he was with the Redskins last year. I really think this kid can have an impact. He's a name that you should definitely watch out for.
We know the Saints. We know those Saints can find, and Drew Brees specifically can find those diamonds in the rough at wide receiver. But certainly something to pay attention to. Well, I'm trying to pay attention to the show, but I'm really more interested in the food in front of me here at Desi Vega. So we're going to take a quick break here on the Sports Lounge New Orleans. Chance to get some of these fried green tomatoes, calamari, who dat shrimp, ISO Joe's. Whoa, woosa, ISO Joe. Look, it all smells and we know it tastes so good. So we're super happy to be here at Desi Vega Steakhouse on St. Charles, world famous. This is our 3rd Sports Lounge New Orleans show from Bash Brothers Saints minicamp. This is how you want to do it. We're having a lot of fun. Don't go anywhere. Table for 2, deep dish, all the fun Sports Lounge segments coming up NOLA style. Stay with us.
Get in the game in the Sports Lounge. Online, on screen, every week. Follow us online at Bash Brothers Media.
This is the Sports Lounge New Orleans. We're hanging out at world famous Desi Vega Steakhouse here on St. Charles in the Business District. I'm John Wiener, Corey Rolden, New Orleans own, ISO Joe Simeone, Hack and Hank, our director, and Josh the Juice on audio. And guys, we got the ball behind us. I got the bourbon below us and the food in front of us. Corey, tell us a little bit about where we are here at Desi Vega Steakhouse.
Well, we're at Desi Vegas, world famous, like you said, on St. Charles Street. It has great food, great service, and great people. come on down to Desi Vega's on St. Charles and Girard.
And make sure you're following Bash Brothers on all of the platforms and share, like, and spread the word about the Sports Lounge and Sports Lounge on the road, Sports Lounge New Orleans. We'll get into our Table for Two now. And guys, both of you know the Table for Two segment well. I know all of our audience does as well, because it's one of the more popular things we do here at Bash Brothers Media. So we'll queue up an all NOLA edition.
Yeah.
And I want to start with the Saints.
Okay.
And I want to start with the running back position, because this is always an interesting one. And I think the best conversation when you talk about all-time great Saints running backs. Who are they? So we got 3 choices. We can only pick 2 to sit at our table. Corey, I'll cue you up first for this one. I'm interested to know. We got Deuce McAllister, Pierre Thomas, and Ricky Williams. You got to pick 2 great Saints.
Well, goodbye, Ricky Williams, because P.T. Cruiser and Deuce McAllister are my people. And Ricky,
Ricky's not your people?
No, Ricky played for 3 years and got traded. We traded 7 picks for him. He's out of here. Deuce McAllister is an all-time great. Both of them, Pierre and Deuce, are in the Saints Hall of Fame. Pierre won a Super Bowl with the Saints and was one of the greatest screen players in NFL history, not just Saints history. And then Deuce McAllister, I believe, is still the best running back in Saints history.
Ricky gets no love from C-Row. ISO Joe.
Well, I'll give him some love. I'm taking Ricky Williams, and I know he only played for a short stint in New Orleans, but Ricky Williams is one of my favorite players I've ever watched. His running ability is just incredible. And then I'll go with Deuce McAllister as well.
Ricky was a victim, certainly, of the expectations and the draft in front of him. Ricky was a terrific NFL running back, both with New Orleans and with Miami. But when you put him in the pantheon of Deuce McAllister, a Mississippi guy, first of all, so you know he speaks to me, and what a legendary status that he had with that 06 team, the Deuce Dozer run against the Philadelphia Eagles in the Superdome. And he kind of took on a larger-than-life personality after Katrina, an absolute legend with the Saints. And as much as I want to go with Ricky Williams, because I was a big Ricky Williams guy, I had the Ricky gold jersey when I was a kid. Pierre Thomas, Corey, you hit the nail on the head. You talk about the heart and soul in so many ways of that offensive team in 2009. One of the great Saints ever. I'll go Pierre Thomas and Deuce McAllister as well. But I'm glad you gave Ricky some love.
Well,
Ricky needed some love.
I understand why you won't, because this is, Saints themed. But if you're a football guy, come on, Ricky Williams.
Ricky may be one of the best college players I think I've ever seen. Ricky Williams and Cam Newton. There was no one better that I saw with my eyes. Look, go ahead.
With Pierre Thomas, he scored the first touchdown in the Super Bowl. And then versus the Vikings, to get that first down to kick the field goal, he leaped over. So I always have a place in my heart with PT.
Well, let's keep it moving, and we'll stay with football, because we've got a Cajun cuisine question coming for Table for Two. But we'll go with all-time plays right here. And when you talk about the Saints, there are a lot that you can include, but 3 come to mind. Steve Gleason in 2006, they call it rebirth here. There's a statue out there. Ambush, the onside kick in 2009 that really changed the fortunes of Super Bowl 41. And we'll say Porter's picks with an S. Either one, Corey, the Vikings pick in the championship game or the one in the Super Bowl, but you got to pick 2.
Well, first off, you got to have the Gleason block. I've been there. I've never seen a moment in sports that I just went there and was like, wow. I was a little kid. At that moment, the stadium, all we've been through, that's definitely number 1 for me. And then Tracy Porter's pick. I love Ambush, but Tracy Porter's pick was just so awesome, man.
Well, it sealed the Super Bowl, you know what I mean? Go ahead, Joe.
I'm going to have to agree. You got to go with the rebirth. There's no doubt about it. Just an incredible moment in sports, an incredible moment for the city. And then, of course, the Tracy Porter pick to seal the Super Bowl. It's hard to pick against that. I'm
going to flip this one here just a little bit, because it's obviously rebirth in 06. The emotional moment with the reopening in the Superdome after Katrina. So many NFL players said they've never heard a stadium like that in their lifetime. Everyone was weeping, was crying. Saints players on the field, fans in the stands, media people. Just what a moment. But I'm gonna, as great as the Tracy Porter pick and as iconic as it was, I'm gonna go with Ambush here, and here's why. First, Tracy Porter isn't in that position if Sean Payton with his 9-pound nuts doesn't come in halftime and say, guys, we're going to go get a possession in the second half. I know as much as Tracy Porter's pick, I've got it on my wall. You know what I mean? ISO Joe knows. It's right in front of the ISO cam in our sports lounge back in Mississippi. But when you talk about like this team and everything that they embody is Sean Payton and his aggressiveness and ambush in the Super Bowl. The onside kick. I mean, an onside kick in the Super Bowl when you're down. I mean, can you imagine?
It was the ballsiest play in NFL history.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with ambush on that one as well. We'll keep it moving and go to the deep dish. And Joe, I'm interested to get your take on this, and we'll start there because I don't think that there's a city and a franchise that is more synonymous, that is more connected, that goes in for each other like the Saints do for their city, and certainly like the people of New Orleans do for the Saints. Like, it's why we're here.
Yeah.
Like, it's why this is all made possible because of the love of Saints fans, Chef Muggsy, diehard Saints. I mean, the whole deal is special in New Orleans. And I'm curious your take on that as an outsider or as a guy who's sort of up close to it for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I
so.
don't call you an outsider. Like, you're one of the family now. You know what I mean? But coming down and glimpsing it, yeah.
No, but it's true. You talk about the rebirth, and that's like one of the moments where you can just see how much the city is connected and how much like the team means to the city and what it all, like football, just how connected everything is. And I think it's so important to have that connection and that love for each other.
Not only that, you saw this past year when the Saints got robbed, so to speak.
Yeah.
All the people come out. It's about 2 million people in the
boycott,
city.
yeah.
2 million people. About 1 million people came out parading down the streets, just boycotting the Super Bowl. How much this team means to the city, how united the people are.
And I think that, as we talk about, I think that's what's been so exciting about like Sean Payton specifically, because Breeze is a savior. Breeze is the ambassador, but Breeze is aggressive in his own right, but he's, I won't say buttoned up, but you know what I'm getting at with Drew Brees. The aggressiveness, the zero you-know-what meter for Sean Payton, and the way he kind of attacks the opponent. I think the character, Corey, of the way the Saints play mirrors this city.
Just because how swaggy he is, man. He just walks up, the whole defense runs out on the field after interceptions. Sean Payton sitting there choking, doing the choke sound to the Falcons. It just represents the city. It's like Choppa style.
Yeah.
When the whole little Choppa style dancing in the locker room played, that's how New Orleans was doing. They were dancing after wins.
Yeah, the music kind of infused with it all.
And it's New Orleans music.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like I said, the two of them are just synonymous, one in one.
Yeah. Well, it makes it exciting, but again, so much of this, I mean, I grew up with the Saints when there were bags on their heads, and it wasn't, the Superdome wasn't full, and the fans didn't party every Sunday because they won. And so it just, when you talk about this Saints team, and as great as this love affair is, Corey, the window with Sean Payton and Drew Brees, I mean, we thought it would maybe close earlier than it has, but how much longer? I mean, is this the year where you say it's now or never?
I think it is now or never, maybe one more year after this, but you're not going to get another quarterback like Drew Brees. And then they got lucky. You talked about the window closing. The 2017 draft really helped them.
Yeah, and of course, unless you're like the Colts, when you get go from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck, it's rare. That's right. Well, I'll tell you what is rare is the Sports Lounge New Orleans on the road. It's new. We're hoping to make it a big-time thing. We're glad you're with us here at Bash Brothers Media. We've got important stuff to get to. We can't go any longer, speaking of table for two and deep dish, without diving into the Desi Vega's treats in front of us. So we're going to do that. We'll give you a report on the other side. We'll visit with Muggsy, head chef here at Desi Vega's, and move to wrap it up on the Sports Lounge New Orleans.
The Sports Lounge, the spot for every fan. Online, on screen, every week at Bash Brothers Media.
We roll on the Sports Lounge New Orleans here from Desi Vega's Steakhouse, world famous right here on St. Charles in the Business District. And we're joined right now by Executive Chef Muggsy. And you guys may notice that all the food is gone. It is like not anywhere. We just ate it all. Chef, it was so good. Tell me about what we just ate.
Well, you have a bestseller, the Who Dat Shrimp. It's the crab meat stuffed in, with shrimp wrapped in bacon. All right, we got a little chipotle remoulade sauce we put on top. That's our biggest seller. I mean, it just happens to be the Who Dat Shrimp.
It was so good, the Who Dat Shrimp.
Yeah, it's delicious. You had the green tomatoes. You got some heirloom tomatoes, and we breaded them, did a little light breading. We fried them and put some of that sweet jumbo lump crab meat from Louisiana on there. And you had something from our happy hour. Was the little filet tips. Okay, that's another great seller. You know, we did a little chili aioli. We toss the shrimp in after we fry it and top it on some of that filet mignon tips. You know, and it keeps the happy hour bar packed.
Well, it kept us happy. I say that it was really, we couldn't wait. I was like, well, it was hard to get through 2 segments with that food just sitting in front of us. You are a New Orleans native, and you're a chef and have been all over the country, in Las Vegas with Chef Emerald, and back here with Desi. There's nowhere I don't think it's more famous than its cuisine than New Orleans. What makes New Orleans food so special? What makes it so great in your eyes?
We have a great advantage with all the seafood. You know, Desi has amazing service. You know, that's one big reason why I'm over here with Desi. Is there's no better service in town that Desi offer you. Okay, and I knew if I kept it straight in the back of the house with a great product, it's prime beef, and we have this big advantage with Lake Pontchartrain, getting all the fresh seafood, the sweet waters around here, all the oysters and crab meat and shrimp. I sell so much scallops. I mean, everybody who comes in here, Mr. John's right down the street on St. Charles, Desi's one of his other locations. They sell a lot of veal and pork and that. Usually when people come here, they do some great seafood appetizers, and then they go ahead and right into their prime steak. It's a big advantage living in Louisiana, getting access to all this fresh, great daily seafood that we get.
Well, not only all the benefits of the food, I know you're a big Saints fan. How excited are you for this season and for the Saints?
Totally pumped. I've always been a big-time Saints fan since I was little. Never did have the bag on my head when they won. When I lived in Las Vegas, I'd come down here for Christmas and take like 18 of my family members to the Saints games, so we'd all get together and do something great. But I've always stuck with them, when they had those tough times and that, and I'm just super excited right now, the success they've been having.
Chef, you and I were talking about it earlier, right before the show. I mean, it's a unique bond between the people of New Orleans and the Saints, and how much this city really lives and dies and breathes with the team.
Yes, they wear it on their sleeve for sure. If the Saints lose and Monday, town's quiet, the streets are empty. But boy, if they win, especially here at Desi Vega Steakhouse, we open up for the Saints games, and boy, do they come out and it's like New Year's Eve.
So, Chef, can you talk a little bit about Sundays here for Saints home games? I've been here before. It's just packed and it's a wild atmosphere. Can you talk about what it's like working here?
It's a little bit laid-back atmosphere as opposed to regular business. Some of all of the waiters, they'll wear the Saints jerseys and stuff like that.
That's great.
I have my jersey on in the back. I mean, we listening to every play, waiting for the game to end. It's just great. Once the dome lets out, everybody's here within, half an hour, and like Corey was saying, the place just fills up, and it's like New Year's Eve, and we can't wait to the next game.
Yeah, and it's just such a great part. Again, I was telling Joe coming into the city about how the Superdome is right here in the heart of the city. You walk to it, the game's done, you spill out of it, and you're right here in New Orleans for the party. Well, as we close, I will say that, you talked about the fresh food in New Orleans and the advantage. There are also some willing eaters. I think New Orleans people love their food on the other side of it, and we were so thankful to have it. It's been quite an honor to be here with the executive chef here at Desi Vega's, Muggsy Bales. Muggsy, thank you so much, Chef, for joining us. We appreciate all the good food.
Thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Well, we can't wait to be back, and I can't wait to get some more of that Who Dat shrimp, baby. Yeah. We're going to close it out when we get back. Sports Lounge New Orleans from Desi Vega Steakhouse.
Get in the game in the Sports Lounge. Online, on screen, every week. Follow us online at Bash Brothers Media.
A little bittersweet here. We're wrapping it up on Sports Lounge New Orleans, show 3 of 3. And guys, it's been such a treat, first of all, to be here at Desi Vega's and get to visit with Chef Muggsy and get to taste the amazing food and be right here in the middle of it. But also just been a real treat and a real fun experience, I think, for us and hopefully for our audience the last 3 days, Sports Lounge New Orleans.
Oh, it's been a great week. And my biggest takeaway from this whole week is the competition of the Saints. And there's a little sign that says Compete Street, and that's what Sean Payton and Drew Brees have built with the Saints organization since 2006, is competing. And that's my biggest takeaway from this week.
Joe, you got a parting shot for us.
Yeah, my parting shot, just like these appetizers, which were kind of like a tease. Like, I'm still hungry now and my mouth's watering.
Absolutely.
I feel the same way about football right now. Minicamp finished, I'm teased, my mouth is watering, and now we have 6 more weeks to wait until training camp comes back around. But I'm really excited to get back into the swing of football.
Well, for me, it just comes down to, you talk about football, and we hit on it a little bit with Chef. There is nowhere that takes their football more seriously, but also enjoys it more and has a better relationship with the team than New Orleans in the Gulf South and the New Orleans Saints. And so it was super awesome for us here at Bash Brothers to get to come down, guys, for the last 3 days, cover Saints minicamp. I want to say ISO Joe, Corey Roldan, you guys did a terrific job out there at camp every day, and then really enjoyed also putting together the Sports Lounge New Orleans every night here at Bash Brothers Media. That's what it's all about, being right in the action and the most important sports and events and games happening, but having some fun, drinking some beer, some daiquiris, some bourbon. I think we made the whole circle here on the Sports Lounge New Orleans, but we certainly had an absolute blast. And the most important part is we're excited to do a lot more of this, taking the Sports Lounge on the road as we continue to grow here at Bash Brothers and get ready for football season, man. It's about, I mean, college baseball is great, but like, I'm ready for the pads to clack and for the trumpets to sound down here in New Orleans, right?
Yeah, I'm excited, ready for the Saints and see what they do this year.
Yeah, I mean, just 6 more weeks. It's almost there.
Well, we're here at Bash Brothers Media. You can get us anytime, bashbrothersmedia.com. I want to say big shout out again to Chef for the incredible food, and certainly our partners, Waterview Casino in Vicksburg, our charter partner, and our new New Orleans partner, Desi Vega Steakhouse, right here on St. Charles in the Business District. World famous, and I would say as advertised. This has been the Sports Lounge New Orleans. For Hack and Hank, our director, Josh DeJuice on audio, ISO Joe Simeone, New Orleans' own Corey Roldan. I'm John Wiener. Get a lot more. Stay with us and keep it humming. BashBrothersMedia.com.
Thanks for stopping into the Sports Lounge. Join us online, on screen, every week at Bash Brothers Media.